The Business Owners Podcast is brought to you by Business and Enever Group with your hosts, Linda Reed Enever and Clive Enever. In each episode, we talk to other business owners about their experiences, challenges, and successes. We'll also share tips and advice on how to grow your business and achieve your goals. If you're a business owner or you're thinking about starting a business, then the Business Owners Podcast is for you.
Welcome to the Business Owners Podcast. My name is Clive Enever and I am your host. I am a business strategist and I help people discover clarity to engage more effectively with more of their ideal client more often. Today I'm having a conversation with Cassandra Nicholson, the Neurodivergence Voice, about psychosocial safe environments. Hello and welcome, Cassandra.
Hi, Clive. Great to be here.
It's great to have you. Whereabouts have we found you geographically?
I am in sunny Queensland in Brisbane.
Oh, beautiful Bris Vegas. What's the weather in Bris Vegas today?
It's still really hot. I think December through to February are the worst parts, but soon it should start to cool down and it's very sunny.
That's what Queensland's known for, so we wouldn't want it any other way. So tell us a little bit about Cassandra. How has Cassandra arrived at the place that she's at? What brought her to here?
Yes, I've had a pretty busy life. Started out in Canberra, ended up working overseas in Papua New Guinea at a time, and then realised that I hated the cold, so I wasn't ever going to move back to Canberra, and I found myself in Brisbane. I've worked across numerous different industries in public and private sector. And last year, I was diagnosed with ADHD as I nearly turned 40. And I left the job that I was in at the time, which wasn't the most pleasant, and decided with the grief that comes with a late diagnosis, there is a lot of anger. And I reflected on my career and all of those awkward moments where I was the other or laughed at because I said something a bit too directly. And I went, yeah, I think this needs to change. I think that these invisible rules need to be brought into the light. And I want other people who are neurodivergent to feel safe. Most people over 30 are never going to get a diagnosis. We've all met them in the workplace. You know it and they don't. And I don't think there should be that weird, awkward taboo anymore. I think that we should just be authentically inclusive.
Open conversations are a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. And I think we've lost a lot of the basics in life. I think we try to overcomplicate things because people want to make a simple thing hard. And for me, I think a lot of workplaces have lost the fundamentals where respect should be and clear communication.
Indeed. And I understand your family consists of a parrot of considerable age and a pretty fancy puppy dog.
Yes, I won't endeavour to annoy Elmo, but he is a princess parrot who is 20 years old. He's very sassy. I know that people hear 20 and think, wow, some parrots can live over 100 years. So his particular breed is usually 25 to 30 years, but if I'm lucky, I'll get years with him than that. I am a very lucky and proud parrot mum. And I have a beautiful dog who's a toy poodle cross Maltese, and his name's Fozzie Bear. And I love the Muppets, unashamed.
Nothing wrong with the Muppets. Let's get to know a little bit more about Cassandra. Is it coffee, tea, or something else?
For me, it'd probably be Pinot Grigio. I do a good wine, yes.
A nice choice. And are you an early bird or a night owl, or a little bit of both?
Definitely a night owl. Absolutely. I hate going to sleep and I hate waking up. So it's a real struggle.
What book are you currently reading and why can't you put it down?
So currently I listen to Audible. Went off reading when I did my degree after having to read that much every night after work. It just was not fun. So at the moment I'm listening to a book called The Psychic Witch, which was recommended to me by a beautiful human down in Melbourne who I met on TikTok. And basically I've been just trying to figure out how to manifest things into my life. And I thought, that can't hurt. I'll give it a crack.
Sounds fair. And what one word would you use to describe your journey so far, Cassandra?
Chaotic. It's messy, but fun, unexpected, but brilliant. Yeah, it's a
Okay.
journey.
Chaotic seems to fit that.
Yeah.
When you decided that you didn't want to go back to Canberra, something else happened and you decided it was time to take a different path. What was that?
I happened to be working in an environment that had shifting sands, dare I say. I took the role being told that the role would be A, and then slowly the role became Z, and I didn't sign up for that. And suddenly I was a poor fit, and it wasn't a very nice environment for me. I found that my security blanket was ripped away from me, and suddenly I'm forced to stand there and look around and go, if not now, then when? So I figured now's the time to have a really hard, solid go at starting my own business and trying to solve problems that a lot of people are facing in silence, people burning out. And I don't think that we need to stay stuck in that space. I think with Gen Z coming along and the changing work environments and AI, there's a real opportunity to step into a healthier environment for all of us.
And that healthier environment mean more or greater levels of understanding?
Yeah, people may not realise, but as of December last year, every state and territory in Australia has psychosocial hazards legislated. It's built into our work health and safety laws. We have regulators that enforce them. Workplaces can be investigated. So Inclusivity isn't just a nice to have anymore. It is the law. But what we often see is, are you okay day and Cupcakes at International Women's Day and a little rainbow here and sparkle there. And we all think we've met our inclusion needs, but it's not inclusive, really. Often it's branding. So inclusivity to me means people can be authentically themselves. Obviously, you have a role, you're expected to do it, you need to be professional, but you should be able to show up and not be feeling like the other. An example I give is, people go, bring your authentic self to work. And I'm like, okay, who wants to hear about my parrot? And they're like, shut up, sit down, go back. Didn't want that. So, yeah, that's where I want the safety and the real, instead of us all trying to be smushed into this tiny box that society goes, that is right. I think we should be able to coexist authentically.
Just by being yourself.
Exactly.
Very good. And psychosocial. I make a guess there's a lot of people have never heard that word. Tell us what psychosocial safe environments mean to you.
So psychosocial just basically means your mental safety and the environment that you're in. So we know now a lot of first responders have had a lot of trauma because it wasn't psychosocially safe, and that people need to be mentally prepared for certain types of work. And what makes an environment not safe, that can be things that are not predictable. It can be moving goalposts. It can be bullying, harassment, being ostracized, being excluded. All of those things come into it. And there is a understanding now that work health and safety isn't about just a physical risk, that cord that you trip over and next minute it's all on. It's also about your mental safety in that workplace, and that should be prioritized.
Indeed, we would hope that bullying wasn't part of our society anymore, but it seems to hang around.
Yeah, I think it's part of the human condition. I think evolutionarily, like is attracted to and other is other. And we need to evolve beyond that.
Agreed. So, what are some of the ways that neurodiversity impacts employees?
There's so many. Recent studies have shown that Comcare claims, I think, are up to 9% due to psychological injuries and only growing every year. There is a massive amount of burnout because masking is exhausting. Smiling, doing the small talk, listening to someone talk about their mortgage when you couldn't care less, hearing about little Johnny and his daycare. It's exhausting. I struggled with it. And often I didn't even realize how exhausting it was until you get home and you're just tired and you can't be productive and the housework sort of falls by the wayside. For different types of neurodivergence, the impacts are different, but the outcomes can be fatal in actuality. And there can be financial issues. There's a chronic underemployment, and that comes with self-esteem. I know with ADHD people, they face 20,000 put downs by the age they're 12 compared to their neurotypical counterparts. So what that looks like in the workplace, you can be absolutely fatigued. You can be burnt out. You can feel like you can't communicate or advocate. It's such a broad spectrum, and how it affects people individually does vary. And the opposite side of that coin is these are some of the most productive, creative, innovative individuals that an employer can have if put in the much needed way.
Yeah. So what would be some of the psychosocial hazards that we might recognise in our workplace?
That's a great question. Open floor, officers, we've all dealt with it. Somebody who's way too loud, somebody who has a very annoying laugh, and the expectation that you should walk up to someone and just ask them a question and they should answer it straight away. For somebody with autism, that can be really confronting. So that kind of small talk, it is better these days now that headphones are more widely accepted, but back when that wasn't a thing, it can be very hard to concentrate and focus in an open plan office. I also think that lighting can be an issue for people who have sensory challenges. The traditional office attitude of working a 9 to 5, I think, is so archaic. I would believe that you can sit there from 9 to 5 and achieve very little, but you're physically there. Why don't we focus on productivity instead? Personally, I can probably do a week's worth of work in one day. And if I could, I would, instead of having to sit around and listen to people talk about things I don't care about. And there's plenty of that. So there are a lot of different hazards in that you're going to have meetings where the introverts don't feel like they can be heard because it's so in your face and the loudest voices are always heard. There are different social structures and understandings, and you've got these hierarchies and unspoken rules and a lack of clarity and shifting sands. Often in ads, we see this phrase, must be comfortable with ambiguity. Now, when I read that, says to me, that is a major red flag. You're a leader who does not know how to lead. You do not know what you want. You're not comfortable with what you need. And you can't even direct yourself, let alone me. So you're saying, come to work for me. I'm going to throw you in chaos. I have no clear direction. And you're going to have to roll with the punches. And that actually is part of the legislation now, that they're not supposed to be doing that. And they're still advertising jobs with that in it. It blows my mind. So I think having a really healthy workplace looks like really clear communication and really clear expectations. There's a code of practice around that and what that looks like for employers.
Yeah, I hadn't even noticed people were making advertisements with such terms in them. I would have been horrified if I saw something like that, but probably for a different purpose. I would have been horrified that somebody thought that ambiguity was okay as you were trying to achieve a goal. Hello?
Everywhere. Honestly, you could pull up Seek today and you'd see it. It's really common.
There you go. So from your perspective, Cassandra, what does the future of employment look like and how might that differ from today? Sorry to give you two at once.
No, I love it. I think AI has changed the world like everyone else. I feel like I shut my eyes in 2022, opened them last year, looked around and went, what? It just bypassed me. So a lot of the jobs that are KPI based are all going to be automated. There are some theorists who argue that neurotypical work is going to be phased out because AI can do it, and that the neurodivergents might finally get their chance. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've heard people say. I think that with generational shifts, Gen Z expects fairness, they're empathy based, they want more flexibility, and their values are different to those of the boomer generation and Gen X, where focus was largely on money. And the values driven in corporate cultures is really rapidly going to have to shift as well. So with the adoption of AI and changing generations, I think that there's a great opportunity to innovate and really break cycles, do things different, think outside the box. And that's exciting because our culture for the last 100 years has been very 9 to 5. That's your job. This is my job. This is what we do. And then we go home. Now we're working 24/7. We've got gig economies. We have rapidly transforming technology. So it's hard to know what the future might look like, but it definitely won't stay the way it is right now.
So a new person coming into the workforce who might be described as neurodivergent, what advice would you have for those people? And indeed for people who are described as not neurodivergent, how that interaction might happen?
I think that's a great question. I think for any leaders, whether they're neurotypical or neurodivergent, I would hope that you come from a place of understanding and find that mutual connection. You're both there to do a task, and how you navigate that with respect and healthy communication is quite important. I think for somebody who's starting out, empathy and self-compassion is really important because we're really hard on ourselves. We know we're different. We don't know why. I would say it's always really important to advocate for your own needs. And that can require a lot of self-awareness, know what you need. So for me, I would say to people, can you text me on Teams before you call me so I know what you want to talk about so I'm mentally prepared? Otherwise, if you call me, I think that you're going to fire me. Okay? I just go from A to Z and I freak out. And now that I'm freaking out, I can't focus. So you're going to ask me questions where you want a practical response, but my brain's running going, oh my God. So I was able to articulate my needs, and that varies from person to person. And it's really important. People can't support you if you don't communicate what you need.
No, indeed, you're absolutely correct there. You mentioned that the changes that you've seen and you think are coming in, including, okay, we went to work for 9 to 5 and then that changed and now we're working from home and now we don't have any time. How do you balance your personal and professional life?
I think that I am a sprinter, not a marathon runner. So that's how I think about working styles. I once had this amazing, very senior public servant I worked with. He sat me down very early in my career. I was thinking about leaving the role and he really wanted me to stay because he needed the workforce. And I was telling him how awful I thought I was, which is actually quite sad in reflection. He said to me, Cass, there's 2 types of employees I've seen in my long career. So he'd come out of retirement to help briefly, then went back. He said, you have those little monkeys with those little tambourines and they're doing that. And you point them in the right direction and they will steadily walk along. They're not going to think about it. They're just going to do. All right. There are worker bees. We need them. And he said, but then we have disruptors, people who do question things, who do challenge, who do look at it differently. We need them too, because that's how innovation and change and growth happens. Now, are they always well received? No, because they're different, but you're important and that is your strength. So explaining that whole analogy takes a while. So I just tend to go with a sprinter versus a marathon runner. I will smash out a heap and be highly productive. And then I'll be fatigued for 3 days and just need to rest. So I think that's why workplaces should consider productivity targets versus hours worked and work more in a dynamic workspace, I think American work culture is far more innovative than Australian. They do know that and acknowledge people bringing their animals into work. It can be a healthy thing. They have a lot of work from home or productivity targets versus time. So that was a very long-winded answer to your question. Yes, I'm a sprinter.
No, indeed. It's absolutely fine. How do you want to shape the future of employment?
I would like everyone to feel like they're included. I think that being unemployed can be really hard on people's mental health and self-confidence. I think that there is a really balance between productivity and profitability or executing in any industry that can be balanced with empathy, kindness, and compassion. And I feel like the world has gotten really greedy with our capitalism and forgotten that we're humans. We're not just a number on a spreadsheet ticking a box so that a board member can be happy. We're all people and we only get one time, one crack at this life. So if we could be a bit more empathetic and a bit more kind, I would like to think that would make so many people in society far more happier, because this attitude that you get born, you go to school, then you go to work, then you retire and that's it. I think it needs to be a bit more sparkly than that.
You've laid out a fantastic idea for us there, Cassandra. Thank you very much for that. And thank you for joining us. But before I let you go, where can our listeners contact you?
Yes, so I'm on LinkedIn and I also have a website, Neurodivergent Voice, but you can find me on LinkedIn, the Neurodivergence Voice. I'm also on Facebook. If you are neurodivergent, I encourage you to join our Neuro tribe on Facebook, where I'm hoping to create a community where people can seek advice and support each other with different challenges they may be facing. And I would love to hear from people. I'd love you to reach out with any comments, questions, thoughts. Yeah.
There you go. So that's neurodivergencevoice.com.
Absolutely.
You'll find Cassandra there, and you can find her Facebook from that website, etc. So easiest place, neurodivergencevoice.com. And thanks again, Cassandra. You've given us tremendous food for thought, amongst other things, and even a path or two that we might choose to follow. To our listeners, thanks for joining us. And remember to check out the back catalogue, because just like Cassandra, they are full of gems of wisdom. And we'll see you in the next podcast. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Business Owners Podcast. We encourage you to connect with us on social media and join our community of business owners at businessbusinessbusiness.com.au.